The Thanksgiving. That ended. Them Thanksgiving dinner was supposed to be about gratitude. Instead, it ended with my father-in-law grinding a lit cigarette into my pregnant belly while my husband held my arms down. I offered a cold smile, flipped the entire holiday feast onto the floor, and set in motion a chain of events that would destroy their lives forever. My name is Lauren Reed, a VP of sales in Chicago, 6 months pregnant, and married 3 years to a man named Hunter, whose family had treated me like a live-in maid since our wedding day. That Thanksgiving, I had shopped, cooked, and cleaned all day alone, while Hunter relaxed with his father Arthur. His mother Carol cracked pistachios onto my new floors, and his sister Madison ignored everyone for her phone. I made far more money than any of them, paid for the condo, the car, everything, yet in their eyes, I was nothing but a wallet with a pulse. At dinner, Arthur blew cigarette smoke straight into my face as I served the meal. Pregnant and nauseous, I finally asked him gently to put it out for the baby's sake. The room went cold. Arthur called me disrespectful, said he'd smoked his whole life and nobody died, and Hunter, instead of defending me, told me to stop making a scene. When I pushed back, reminding him this was his own unborn child, Arthur lunged at me with the cigarette still burning, and Hunter grabbed my arms and pinned me down so his father could press the lit end directly into my belly. The pain was unbearable, but nothing compared to watching my own husband hold me still for it while his sister smirked. Something in me finally broke free. I drove my knee into Hunter hard enough to send him to the floor, then pulled out my phone and photographed the burn and every one of their faces before they could stop me. When Arthur ordered me out of the house, I grabbed the tablecloth and ripped the entire feast onto him and Hunter, turning their celebration into a wreck of shattered china and scalding gravy. I packed a bag, walked out, and told them this was only the beginning. That night from a hotel room, I called my lawyer and cut off every credit card I'd ever given them, canceled the mortgage autopay, the utilities, the HOA fees, everything they had lived on without ever once thanking me. I filed a police report with photographic and medical evidence of the burn. The next morning, officers arrested Arthur for aggravated domestic battery right in front of his stunned family. Within days, Hunter and Carol were staring down a mortgage bill they could not pay, empty refrigerators, and dead credit cards, reduced to eating instant noodles while plotting how to lure me back. I wasn't done. I had a private investigator confirm my suspicion that Madison had been stealing my designer bags and jewelry to impress her wealthy boyfriend. I confronted her in the middle of an expensive dinner date, laid out the receipts proving the items were mine, and watched her boyfriend walk out on her in disgust the moment he heard the word theft. When Carol and Hunter staged a public protest outside my office building, screaming that I abused them, I simply released the security footage from our condo showing the entire Thanksgiving assault in horrifying detail. It went viral within the hour, and the sympathy they had been begging for turned instantly into public outrage. Since I alone owned the condo, I had my lawyer file a formal eviction notice. Instead of leaving, the family turned the apartment into a biohazard, smearing rotten food and foul liquids across my walls and floors, scrawling threats in lipstick, barricading the door, certain the filth would scare me off. It didn't. I hired a hazmat crew, a private security team, and coordinated a police standby, and within an hour of their deadline, the locksmith broke through their padlock. Security dragged Arthur, Carol, and Madison out by force, and their entire lives were bagged up and left on the sidewalk in the cold. Homeless and broke, they scattered into a rundown motel, and Hunter, desperate, showed up at my parents' house in the pouring rain, weeping and begging for forgiveness, swearing he'd changed. I let him in just long enough to see through the performance, and when he accidentally left his phone behind, I found an audio message he'd sent his mother the moment before knocking on my door, gloating that he was only faking remorse to trick me into signing the condo back over to him so they could throw me out once the baby was born. I also found months of secret payments to a mistress. I saved everything. At mediation, Hunter arrived with roses, still certain I would cave. Instead, my lawyer played his own voice back to him in front of the judge, laid out 3 years of hidden payments to his mother and his mistress, and watched his face drain white as his last shred of leverage evaporated. The case moved straight to a brutal trial. Desperate and unraveling, Carol tried to have me forcibly grabbed outside the hospital during a prenatal appointment. I fought off her hired thugs with pepper spray while my bodyguard subdued the rest, and she was arrested for attempted kidnapping on the spot. Hearing the news, Arthur, drunk and consumed with rage, took a sledgehammer to my car in my parents' driveway, screaming threats until my father calmly filmed him and called the police. Both of Hunter's parents were now behind bars. Hunter, fired from his job and drowning in debt, ambushed me with a knife in a parking garage, screaming that if he had nothing left, neither would I. My bodyguard disarmed him in seconds and left him bleeding on the concrete. Released on bail with an ankle monitor, Hunter made one final desperate move, sneaking onto my parents' property at 3 a.m. and setting the front porch on fire while we slept inside. Thankfully, my father had installed a serious alarm system, and we escaped through a fire exit as firefighters arrived in time to save the house. Hunter was arrested standing across the street, watching the flames with a deranged smile still on his face. He was convicted of attempted murder, arson, and domestic violence, and sentenced to 12 years in prison. Arthur, serving his own sentence for destroying my car, suffered a stroke behind bars and came out paralyzed. Dependent on Madison, who lost her boyfriend, her reputation, and now worked exhausting double shifts just to survive. Carol, broken by everything she'd lost, wandered the streets in a fog of grief and delusion, and was eventually struck by a truck one rainy night, gone before anyone even recognized her. As for me, I rebuilt everything. I never remarried. I rose to CEO of my own company, raised my son Leo surrounded by people who actually loved him, and started a foundation helping other women escape the exact nightmare I had survived. Some evenings, I still catch myself thinking about that Thanksgiving table. The smoke, the pain, the betrayal, but mostly I think about how far I walked away from it, and how much lighter the world feels on the other side of that door I slammed shut for good. If this story moved you, let me know in the comments which moment shocked you the most, and tell me where you're watching from tonight. This has been another story from the Revenge Tales. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what happens next. Thank you for